So people move to Massachusetts every single day. And then there are lots that actually move out. Some areas are experiencing more people moving in, and some areas in Massachusetts are seeing more people leaving. I'm Katherine Kranenburg, and I am a local real estate agent in the greater Boston area. And in today's video, we're going to dive into the 5 reasons why people are actually leaving. On my last video here, I talk about why people are moving to Massachusetts. Stay until the end because I'm also going to share where people are moving to. Let's dive in. Here's what they found is that Massachusetts is number 7 for states of people leaving. This is interesting. And according to this article by United Van Lines, it says that 56 to 58% of the moves that they handled were moving out of Massachusetts. They also have an inbound moving list, which Massachusetts has been in the top percent each year. And with everything that Massachusetts has to offer, why would people be leaving? Okay, so let's look at some of the stats that United Van Lines put together. You have people moving for new jobs. You have people moving to be closer to relatives, kind of some of the same stuff that we've been seeing, right? 15% moved for lifestyle changes, and then 18% moved to retire, probably in warmer states. Let's talk about the cost of living in Massachusetts. We know that pre-pandemic, this area was already attractive, but also expensive, right? The cost of living here is higher. We're not going to sugarcoat that. And then post-pandemic, what we saw is sort of a migration of people from the city moving into the suburbs. That created more demand for home buyers. That also created opportunities for home sellers because, like the home buyers, they were also moving closer to relatives, retiring early, making those decisions that they had put off for a long time. It basically fast forwarded that. In response to pandemic, we also had a huge surge of need of home buyers, which also increased home values and increased home prices, also creating competitive offer situation because the need for housing was much greater than the people that were moving and the home sellers, which is kind of where we still are today. So we're still feeling that impact even now. But this is one of the key reasons why people have left Massachusetts. So in addition to millennials, right, that make up a huge part of any market, any real estate market across the United States, with the average age of the home buyer now being 34, what are they dealing with right now? So let's think about that. We have higher rents. We have higher cost for purchasing a home. So that's a huge demographic that is leaving. That's also a huge demographic of people that are staying around because education has attracted them here and they are actually finding jobs. But the question is, are they able to find housing near where they live? Baby boomers are also part of this demographic of people who have been feeling the lack of availability of affordable homes in order to buy. We've also seen them fast forward and who have sat on a ton of equity in their homes, who have lived there for 30, 40, 50 years. Now they are actually the ones fueling our real estate economy here in Massachusetts, but they are looking and have taken retirement early. And according to this article, young professionals are actually considering moving in the next 5 years for cheaper lifestyle and perhaps different jobs. So as of date of this video, Governor Healy is planning and is already working on things of how to retain and attract and keep the workforce that we have already growing here. And she's considering a tax credit to offer companies in order to hire those coming out of colleges and the millennials in order to keep them in Massachusetts. I think this is a great idea. Cost of rent was very high on people's list. 83% of the respondents responded to that. But ability to buy a home, 78% of the respondents did actually respond to that. I believe one of the best neighborhoods for young professionals is actually the Alston-Brighton area. The commute to the city is around 20 minutes, and it's also really easy access to public transportation. As far as suburbs go, I would say what I have seen in the time that I have been here is communities like Wayland, Needham are definitely ones that have grown in community, grown in percentage of population since COVID. Another area that I have seen a lot of my clients go to is Dedham, and that really sprouted after COVID. And the proximity to places like Legacy Place for shopping, you have Costco there. You also have easy access to 95, which will take you straight into the city as well. But overall, great parks, great community. And no one can deny that Cambridge is also a very sought after community. So we still see that that is very much in demand, and I think always will be. Other factors to consider when you're looking at home ownership is obviously taxes, utility cost. So here's something that's worth noting. Each town in Massachusetts has their own tax rate. So you're going to want to take a look at that as well when you start thinking about moving or relocating to the area. And actually that could come as a sticker shock for a lot of people who are moving here from the South or even the Midwest. Maybe less of a sticker shock if you're moving here from California, which is where we get a lot of people moving from, as well as Oregon. But here's the thing. You not only need to protect you and stay warm, but you also need to protect the house because, like I said, in the New England winters, Massachusetts winters can be long, and there's a lot of older houses, obviously lots of new construction as well, but you're going to want to keep the house heated. And natural gas has obviously also gone up in price too. But there are programs like Mass Save that can help with that. So you're definitely going to want to check that out as an option for heating. So what about the winters that have this massive dump of snow? What really happens? Well, you can see here, our family really gets into it. And when I say our family, I mostly mean my husband because he's out there with the plow. So we have these winters, right? But here's the thing. You can actually go ice skating in Boston Common on the pond when it gets really, really freezing. The year we moved here, it was -12 on New Year's Eve, and people were skating on the ponds. Okay, it's not for everyone, but the sledding hills, the mountains near us, why would you not want to live close to that? Or is it that it's just way too wintry, too long in Massachusetts, and that's what gets people to move? I mean, we just did talk about homeownership and the cost of living here. So, Okay, so let's pause for a moment. When did you move to the area? Are you originally from here? Is anything that I'm sharing new or a reason why you moved here? Or maybe a reason why you're thinking of not moving here? And if you're not from here, are any of the things that I'm talking about right now a consideration? I mean, they were for us too, but let me know in the comment below. All right, let's keep going. We have a 5% income tax. Yep, that's what I said, which makes Florida and New Hampshire attractive states, and actually two of the states that a lot of people from Massachusetts leave and go and move to those. And then there's the millionaire's tax. I posted that video a year ago on my Instagram. You can go follow it at Move Me to Boston. And I give a lot of information about that. That was just voted in last year. So here's the details around that. And it's really important. The millionaire's tax basically adds an additional 4% for those making over $1 million in income, which is probably why people move to Texas, because they don't have an income tax. Anyhow, this is probably one of the key reasons why a lot of people move to states like Florida and Texas, because after paying these kind of taxes for year after year, they want to see their money go in different directions. I mean, I can't blame them, right? But the challenge of that is the job market here. This is a really big drive for people who move to Massachusetts. So I guess you kind of weigh your options. So as I was saying, the millionaire's tax will definitely make people leave this state. And again, going to states like Florida and Texas, which also leads to the discussion of schools, right? Every area has their own tax assessment, and every area also has large budgets for schools, public schools. And the budgets for these continue to grow. There's about 48,000 students, which makes it roughly about 10 kids per teacher. I guess that's about right. And the demand for good education is literally the mecca of Massachusetts because they do pride themselves on that. If we're looking at overall taxes, the context of if you're a family and you're moving to Massachusetts, you're going to want to take that into consideration. I live in the area of Newton. Zervis Elementary is here in my area, and they have a very strong teacher assistance program. It's also one of the brand new schools. You can actually see that on this video right here that I did at the beginning of January. I talked about the Newton school system. Anyway, okay, I digress. Now, this may not be a big deal for a lot of people, but if you are not used to living in Massachusetts or in New England, the culture shock could actually surprise you. So when we moved here, we didn't know anyone. We relocated here for work. We did what probably a lot of people do, which is talk with people that you know and find out what it's like to live in the area where you're about to move. One of the things I will say is there is a bit of a culture shock because there is a certain way in which people live here, and you need to embrace it kind of quickly. The thing is, you don't really embrace it quickly. It takes time learning how people work, learning their everyday nuances, and you're definitely going to run into the Massachusetts slang. That is something that's actually quite funny and entertaining, and also you got to lend an ear, lean in.
A masshole. I never liked that term, masshole.
And here, because they are famous for forgetting their R's, but not all. This is just in general. Culture shock, 100%. So when you think of culture in Massachusetts, you've got to think about the people. It's made up of so many different walks of life. I mean, Boston is the largest city in Massachusetts, right? Well, okay, if we look at the history, there are Irish, Italian, and we have a large Portuguese community and also a very diverse mix of Asian community as well. So when you come here, I guess you could say it's a melting pot, but not really. Now, I think you're actually going to see more of a mix of all of these other different cultures, but it's still Massachusetts culture. Basically, this is an international city, and that's what's great about it. It's such a draw for so many people. But we're talking about why do people leave and how does culture play a part of this? You just got to know and do your research before you move here that culture plays a huge role in everything. That's like every city, right? But Boston and Massachusetts in particular, there's a lot of little nuances. I could probably make a whole other video just about the things I've learned since relocating here. So I'll just make it easy. Send me a DM, pop a comment down below, and I'll share with you some of the things I've learned since being here. Or you can go back to one of my other videos and see some of the things I wish I knew before I moved here. And I kind of shared already with you. And yes, Massachusetts is known for Good Will Hunting and The Departed. Those are just a few movies, but it's not always like that, I will tell you. But a lot of people do think that this is how Massachusetts really is. Basically, what I'm saying is that there's a lot of stereotypes that come out from these movies about Boston, and not all of it is accurate. The point is, if you move here, be prepared. There is cultural nuances, as with any state. The one here in Massachusetts, I have tons of stories, but that's one thing that you need to take into consideration. Again, do your research. And here's my last thought that I have to throw out there, which is sports. And here's what I will say. If you're a sports fan, this is a great state. If you are not a sports fan of the Red Sox, the Patriots, the Celtics, just keep going. And the final reason why people leave Massachusetts, public transportation, commuting, traffic, it is not as bad as New York, but it definitely has its challenges. You have the MBTA, one of the oldest in the systems. You have 4 or 5 different metro lines. You've got one of the oldest and slowest on the Green Line. Everyone is commuting one way or the other, public transportation or in their car. So when you're choosing to relocate or move here or move out, think about that for the next state you live in. So here's a question I ask people when they're moving here. Where are you going to be working? What kind of lifestyle are you looking for? Do you want to drive? Do you want to walk? How far? Do you want to live near public transportation? So depending on where you need to live, where you work is really the first question. And really, once you establish where you're going to be working, then we can talk about what is the best area for that commute for you. And I can help you with that. But this whole video has been about why people live here, but mostly why are people leaving? And today we shared those 5 reasons. I'm Katherine Kranenburg, and I'm a greater Boston area real estate agent. Whether you're moving here in 9 days, in 90 days, or you're just starting out to think about moving here, or maybe you're thinking about leaving. Maybe it's time for you to sell that house. Look me up, leave me a comment. I would be happy to help, and I'd love to be a realtor of choice, and I'll see you on the next video.